Exactly. Okay, Chumash and Rashi, Parshas Tazria-Metzora, double Parsha. We're the sixth reading. Let's get right into it. A bit lengthy today. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Olam she'achnu b'barei.
Amen.
Chaim. Okay. V'daber Hashem l'Moshe ve'el Aaron Leimer, and Hashem spoke to Moshe and Aaron, saying, Ki savayu el eretz Canaan, when you will come to the land of Canaan, the Canaanite land, which is Israel, of course. That I'm giving to you la'achuza, for an inheritance, for possession. And guess what I'll do? This is something new. We spoke about tsaras, a lesion, an affliction on the skin. We spoke about even on clothing, right? The clothing would turn like a green or a red, right? No, we did not speak about that at all. That's actually what we're doing right now. Look at that. You're on the money. But we didn't speak about it till now. Right now, God says, when you come into the land of Canaan, and I'm going to give you for possession, I will give a nega, this affliction of tsaras, in the houses of your possessions. Rashi. Interesting. Let's see Rashi over here in 33. Nesati nega, 34 rather. And nega tsaras, I place a tsaras affliction. Psurahi lahem. This is actually a good tiding. Till now, tsaras was not very good, but this is a good tiding. Why? That these afflictions coming on you, because the Amorites they hid shells of their treasures of gold in the walls of their houses. For all 40 years. That the Jewish people were in the desert. And as a result of this affliction, they would break down the house of Mitzim and they would find the treasure. We learned this Sunday night in Torah studies, if you remember. Why only the Amorites? Why not the other 6 nations that are in Canaan? Why did they do it for 40 years? Why 40 years? How does that make sense? For 40 years.
40 years?
No, why did they hide it for 40 years? Why so long? Okay. Anyway, some of the questions we asked on...
They knew that you could come.
Well, how come no one else did? All right. Got to come Sunday nights to Torah studies, Okay, Asher Habayis, and the owner, that it should come, the one who owns the house. The Higit Lakoyan, he should say to the Kohen Lamor, say, Kenega Nira Libabayis, it appears to me, an affliction appears to me in the house. Rashi Kenega Nira Babayis, a nega, right? An affliction seems to appear on the house. What is it? Even if someone's a Torah scholar, knows certainly that this is an affliction, but he should not render the judgment in a definitive manner. Loimar saying, nega nirali, that the affliction has appeared to me, ella kenega nirali, like it's an affliction that appears to me, right? What do you mean it's like an affliction? Well, if you know, you know. So if you know, then why are you saying it seems to be like an affliction? No, because you're not allowed to make that decision or that statement, rather. The definitive statement can only be made by the Kohen. Sikha this week on that. 36. Tziva Kohen, and the Kohen will command, order, Bino is a bias, that clear out the house, before he comes, the Kohen, Lirais, to examine, to see, is a nega, the affliction. Yitma, and as a result of that, he will not defile everything that's in the house. Right? Because if he gives the statement that it is tsaras, everything in the house becomes impure. So take it out first. Then when he comes and makes a statement, not everything will become defiled. Just, just the stones themselves that need to be, removed and what, as we will see, right? And afterwards, and the Kohen shall come and see the house. Rashi in 36. And before the Kohen comes, she calls man that the entire time, the Kohen does not get involved into rendering a decision or making the statement of the decision. Ain't Sham Teres Tuma, there isn't the law of impurity. In other words, the impurity only takes an effect. It shows you, by the way, how this is a heavenly thing. It was not a earthly, kind of affliction. It's a heavenly thing because, hey, it's like either you got the disease or you don't have the disease, right? He was saying, no. If you take out all the things and the kohen now comes and renders, so whatever was in the house is not affected. Whatever, if it stayed in the house, then it is affected because it's his statement that is making, making the creating the fact almost, right?
Where are they taking all the things up to?
Put in the street. Doesn't matter. Front yard, yeah, wherever. The point is, if it's in the house, then it's under the roof of something that is impure on the bricks. So the things under that roof also become impure.
But if something is impure in the house and there's items in the house, don't the items become impure also?
That's why you take them out. That's the
So
whole point.
if you take them out, then they don't become impure?
Exactly.
They only become impure.
I thought if they're impure.
That's exactly.
Impure.
1 second. That's exactly what I just explained.
I understand that, but
No, you didn't understand it.
How is that?
Let me explain it. Let me explain.
Something's impure. So if I take it off the table, it's no longer impure.
Right. That's what the Torah. First of all, that's what the Torah is saying clearly. That's first of all. The Torah is saying that. What the understanding of it comes after the fact of it. The fact is that the verse we just learned says, take out the stuff, and then the kohen will come and render. And only what will be in the house will be then impure. And if it's only the bricks, then it's only the bricks. If there's other things in there, then there'll be other things. That is the fact.
Yeah, they were. They weren't impure. Yes, he said they're impure. No, if there's one thing that's impure in the house, it makes the whole house impure.
But they keep
And the things that are inside it.
If they're
And then
inside.
they take it out, it's not pure.
No, take it out before the rendering of the law.
But how did they know it was impure?
Because the kohen, you see something, discoloration on your wall, right? That looks like it, and and that person's a Torah scholar, and he knows what it is. He takes everything out. Then the kohen comes. Then the kohen comes and impure. It's defiled. Only that which is in the house now would be defiled. And if it's only the bricks, it's only the bricks because everything was taken out. That's what we just stated as a fact, right?
Okay.
Let's learn. Let's be present. Hello. Let's be present. Let's be present and learn Chumash and Rashi.
It's contaminated.
No, that's
It can become contaminated. I'm not contaminated now.
And anyway, Shimon Leib, let's understand Chumash and Rashi. Now, to understand deeper why that would be, that's a good question, but not at this moment. But let's not get confused with what Torah is telling us as a fact and what I don't understand because I am small in my understanding. I'm small in my understanding. You're small in your understanding.
Limited would be a better word.
No, small is better. You know why? That means we're humble. That means we're humble. Humble in our lack of understanding. We could be full of ourselves in our lack of understanding, right? That I think I got it. This doesn't make, It's a good question what you're asking. It's an excellent question. But first, let's understand what the Torah is telling us. Okay, we have to stay focused now, and we cannot derail. Layitma kol asher babayis, in order that everything in the house should not become impure. Sheim lo yivneu, if you will not clear out from the house, v'yavai kohen, the kohen will come. V'yireh es haneg, and he will see. We're in the second Rashi in 36, and the kohen will see the affliction, and he will need to close off the house. Kol ma shebeseichai, and yitma, everything that's inside the house will become impure. Upon which the Torah had pity. In other words, the property inside the house the Torah is concerned about, right? I'll call clay sheta. If the Torah was concerned about implements of rinsing, then which would need to be immersed in the mikvah in order to become pure, such as those as wood and metal, bilam, all you have to do is immerse them. So it's not a big deal. V'yitorah, and they become pure, right? These, therefore, cannot be the object the Torah is concerned with, because though it's not like you lose the object, it becomes impure, you can take it to the mikvah. But if it's speaking about foods and beverage, you can eat them. Be made to masa in the days of impurity.
Furniture.
Can we just learn and not just stick in things? Let's just follow what Rashi is saying. Let's first learn it. Why do we have to have our own thoughts before we can have Rashi's thought?
Thank you for reminding me.
Please, okay?
Thank you.
Right?
That's
Please.
the question.
No, but it's an inappropriate place. It's an inappropriate. We're in the middle of saying a Rashi, and you're sticking something in before you understood what the Rashi said. Well, where does that come from? It comes because we have a stream of consciousness, and we're allowing other thoughts to come in rather than the teachings in the moment.
Okay.
And that takes bittul, that we need to put ourselves aside to follow the teachings in the moment of what we're learning and not our stream of consciousness. Because then we're never learning anything. We're just regurgitating our ideas. Okay? Sorry to be so tough, but only with that toughness will there be.
I appreciate it, Rabbi.
Thank you. So then what is Torah having pity on? Al kli cheres, on earthenware vessels, she'ein lahem tara, because earthenware vessels cannot be immersed in the mikvah, right? They have to be destroyed, right? They have to be broken, they have to be destroyed. So that's what Torah is having compassion on, that you should take out those things. Minimally, at least those things, because they won't become purified, okay? 37. Now the Kohen will see, and he'll examine this lesion, this affliction. And there is this affliction on the walls of the house. Shekarurais, that they are sunken in. Yarakrais, from the word yaroik, which means green. They're green, real green. They have adamdomais and real red. Umarim shafal minakir, and they're deeper on the wall. In other words, they're not just on the surface. They're not like you can scratch it off so simply, right? Rashi shekarurais, that they're depressed forms of which are shaikais, sunken bimarim, in their appearance. 38. Yeah, the Kohen will go out from the house. El Pesach abayis, to the entrance of the house. V'yizker abayis, and he will close up the house. Shivas Yomim, for 7 days. Right? He hasn't rendered it yet that it's defiled, but it's got all the makings of it, right? So that's why he has to close up the house. Vishav 39. Vishav HaKohen b'Yom HaShvi, and he will return the Kohen on the 7th day. V'ra, and he will see and examine. V'hine, and behold, it spread, this lesion, this affliction, b'kiras habayis, on the walls of the house. Now that it's spread, B'tziva HaKohen, the Kohen will command. And they will now remove. Chilza means to remove. The stones are shared by him that are by him a nega, that there is nega. Not all the stones of the house. If it's only a one stone, you remove the one, right? You move that stone, or the 3 stones that it is on. And you have to remove them and dispose of them outside of the city to a place of defilement. In other words, where you put defiled, impure things, right? The city dump, so to speak. Rashi in 40. You remove the stones. This should be understood according to Unkelis's understanding. The Yishalfun Yitleim Misham, that you should take them away, the stones from there. Kamoy b'choltzanol, no love, and then you should take off his shoes. Lashon asara, it's an expression of removal, right? I don't know if we've had that word before, so Rashi's explaining. Bel mokum tamei, to an impure place. Mokum she'ein taras mishtamshim b'sham, a place where things that are kept there must be kept. Kept there. Why? That the pure people should not come there. Like a kohen shouldn't come there and become himself. So it needs to be like a designated spot. So that way, if you had impure things all over the town, so then the kohen could become impure by coming in contact with them. Put it in a designated place. It teaches us these stones, they make their location impure, but when they are still there in their place. Okay, 41. That's a bias. And as far as the, so he explains the house, Tzia, mibais saviv, must scrape. You see, from the house from around. The shavchu is a ofar, and you have to pour afar, mortar. So you must pour out the mortar and remove it and put it outside of the city again in a defiled place. Rashi in 41. Yaktsiya shall be scraped. In Old French, rugeniara. Obalasha Mishnah, the language of the Mishnah, Yeshabah, there are many words that relate to this. Bias from within. So it's not, inside the house, in other words. Saviv, all around, Saviv Anega. In other words, around, you took out the stones that have an affliction. Around it, you also now need to scrape. This is how the Midrash explains it. That you should peel away the plaster. They're around the stones of affliction. So you took out the stones, but there's still plaster. Take out that plaster too. Hiktsu, and scrape its edges. Lashon kotzim means an edge. Asher kotzu, that they scrape the edge. It says a nega.
That is Tazara.
That has a terrace, yes. But around it, you also have to scrape whatever mortar that's there.
How much around did they have to remove?
Well, what we just learned is just about the mortar. Let's say you took out let's say you took out these two stones here, right?
Right.
So around those two stones is going to be mortar. So this verse is just saying, take that mortar also out. And also is part of the affliction. That's right. More than that, we didn't say it, right?
They didn't take more. They just.
Well, we didn't say yet.
It's like when they're cutting out a cancer today from a person.
Right.
They cut out the cancer.
Yes.
And then they cut out the surrounding good tissue.
Right.
In order to.
Okay, 42, Shimon.
In case the cancer has spread or potentially might spread.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. 42. And you should take other stones, and you should put them in the stead of those other ones that you now removed that had the tzaras on it, right? And take other mortar, and plaster the house. 42.3. Now, if it will return the nega, the affliction, the lesion, and it spreads in the house after you remove these stones, and after you scraped, and after you replastered, right?
Yeah.
So it's the middle of a sentence. I mean, it's a finish of the pasuk, but it's the middle of an idea. Let's just learn Rashi, and let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay? The hiktzais, and he scraped the edges. Lashon hey also it's a form of being done. Similarly being plastered at the end of the verse. But with regard to the closet, he removed the stones. Musab halashon adam shechilson. This is an expression of chelates that he removed. Mishgal lashon kaveh. It's a form of intense language. Kiper diber, like atoned he spoke. And there's some grammar there. Now if the affliction returns, Yochel, I might think that it returned on that day. Yeah, Talmud, then it would be impure. Talmud Leimer, but the verse says otherwise. The Shabbat Kayin, the next verse it says, and the Kohen shall return on the seventh day. And he said, and it says in our verse, Im Yashu, that if the affliction returns, Mashiva, right? What does it mean returning? As it states above, B'Seif Shavua, at the end of the week. So Shiva Murakan. So likewise, returning over here, B'Seif Shavua, at the end of the week. In other words, you might think that only if, let's say, you took out these stones, right? You put new stones in, and the affliction returned. So when did the affliction return? You might think it has to be immediately on that day. No, because it says because the verse says, and it returned. Well, what does that mean, return? So we're comparing it to what it means that the Kohen returned. Well, when did Kohen return? At the seventh day.
At the end of the week.
Right, at the end of the week. So the same thing over here. It doesn't have to come immediately, the reappearance of the lesion, of the affliction. It can come a week later. That's what the verse is saying. Okay? Amazing. Well, and now the Kohen is going to come, right? It's got to come. But Rowan, he's going to see or examine the Hine Pasa Nega, and he's going to see that it spread, this lesion, this affliction by bias in the house. Tzaras Mameres, it is an onerous, right? Tzaras by bias in the house, Tamehu, and it becomes impure. Rashi in 44 about Kohen Meros Apostle, and the Kohen's going to come and he's going to see that it spread the affliction. Yochel, I might think, Lo Yechazer Tameh, that which returns the affliction that returns originally afflicted, the stones that have been removed should be not be impure. Eleim Kain, unless Pasa, that only if it spread the affliction, right? And that what makes it impure. But this is to teach us otherwise, because the verse says tzaras mameres babatim. A degenerative tzaras is mentioned with regard to houses. Tzaras mameres babegadim. And it says the same term that we just said over here of it being degenerative, right? Or onerous, if you will. I like degenerative better. I think that kind of brings up more the idea, personally. Right, it is mentioned with regard to garments. Also, it says he uses the same phrase, "Malahalan," just like it's before Tame as a chayzer. Time as a chayzer. Torah made impure that which returns. Fal pisha in a paise, even though it did not spread. Afkan here, time as a chayzer also makes impure that which returns. Afal pisha in a paise, even though it did not spread. So if that's the case, why does the Torah say that it spread? Why is the Torah telling us it spread if you're saying that it would be impure even if it didn't spread? This is not the place for this verse to speak about spreading of the affliction. Ella, this is a bias. The Torah should have written the passage that begins, and they shall demolish the house. Acher, immediately after Be'im Yoshev Nega, after the verse that begins, if the affliction returns, the Kohen shall see that look and behold, the affliction had spread. Haloi ba l'lamed. And this comes to teach only by that which is standing unchanged in appearance. Bishavu Arishan, the first week, and again it gets closed off. And he comes at the end of the second week, I found that it did spread. Perish by Akosov Lamaila Klum, for the verse did not state anything explicitly above. Ka'emet be'enav, and that which stands unchanged in its appearance. B'shvua Rishon, at the end of the first week. Mi'etchakan, this has come to teach you. Shmishon said that this spreading. Sheina medaber ela ba'emet be'rishain. It's speaking about a spreading that nothing but an affliction which stands unchanged. Sorry. Shani Medaber Elabaim and Risha, and to speak of the affliction was unchanged at the end of the first week of Pasuk Shani, and it spread in the second week. Ma'al Yaseloi, and what should be done with it? Yochol Yitatazenu. You might think that you have to demolish the afflicted house. K'mashe Samach Loi. As the Torah puts adjacent to mentioning the spreading of the verse, not as a bias that you shall demolish the house. Talmud Leimer, the Torah says, otherwise, Veshav Kohen, the Kohen returns, Ubal Kohen, the Kohen shall come, Ilma Bia, then we understand that this coming, Yeshiva, from what it means to return. Ma Shiva, just like returning Chaylet's, he removes the afflicted stones, Vikaitze, and he scrapes its edges around them. Betach, and he plasters. And he gives it a week, an affliction. And if he returns at the end of the week, and demolishes the house, Avbiya. So to this case spoken in terms of Cheletz, removing the afflicted stones, case it's scraping around its edges, Betach and plastering. What? Whoa, it's not an easy Rashi Chodesh Chayetze. Betach, when Eisem Lo Shavua, V'im Chazer, if Eisem Eisem Lo Chazer, he did not return V'tar. Oh, Menayin, from where do we know? Shem Amad V'zeh V'zeh, that if it stood unchanged in both the first and the second week, let's say you remove the afflicted stones, V'kaitz, and you scrape, Betach, and you plaster, and Eisem Shavua, and you give a week to see if it will return. Talmud Leimer, the verse says, Ba, Yavoy. If the Kohen is to come, Kuli. The man that comes to Midaber, he's got to come. What's the Jewish Torah speaking about? Impossible showing that if it's spread at the end of the first week, Harikvar Omer already said, being possible sheni, if it's spread in the second week, Harikvar Omer also has been said. Whoa. I don't think this is long enough. Ha'ina Imer, the Torah does not say, Oba Kain, Oba Ba Yavai, Shabbat B'Seif Shabor Rishai. Sheni, Yochol Yipater B'Yelech. Wish it wasn't in
In summation.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to do.
Bird.
Whoa.
I like to read the bird stuff. We don't have to declare it twice
Yeah.
or 3 times. Whatever.
I don't know if this is the longest Rashi there is.
Hmm? Okay, I got you. I have questions is already answered.
Okay, I'm just going further because
Yeah.
uh,
We're going to 45?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And now since it's a bias, you have to demolish the house. There's a vanav and it's stones, zaytzav and it's wood. It's called ofar a bias for the mortar of the house. And take it out to a defiled place. 46. El Abayis called Yitma. And anybody who enters the house when it's been closed up, right, for a quarantine, that person becomes impure until the evening. Rashi 46. Whenever it's closed off the house, call Yomim, but not days. Shekelav is when he peeled away the affliction, you might think She'ena Meitzi that I was excluded from this law, Machala, which was decidedly impure. Shekelav is Nigai, his affliction was peeled away. Leimar. So you become impure until the evening. Malamed, this teaches us, your clothes do not become impure. I might think that it does not make clothes impure, Ella Shah, if he stayed inside the afflicted house, so long enough to eat a part of a bread. And so we say no. Talmud Leimer, because the verse says, because it says if you eat in the house, then you have to immerse your garments in the mikvah. But I would only know, based on this verse, that the one who eats has to be immersed. Sheikh
lies down. Not leaves. Sorry.
I would only know one who eats in afflicted house must immerse his garments. Sheikh how do I know if someone reclines? Right, that he has to immerse his garments, because Talmud Leimar, Sheikh, one who reclines. And Liela, so based on that, on the basis of this verse, I know only of one who eats or one who reclines.
Is it leaves or lies? Lies down, not leaves down.
Reclines. Lie down, recline.
Yeah, not leaves.
Okay. Leaves. Who said leaves? Then when he neither eats, nor reclines. Menayin. So where do we know that you have to immerse your garments. Amud Laimar, Yichabis, Yichabis, immersion, it says in two different verses. Reba, this to include that neither eats or reclining among those must immerse. Im Cain, if so, so why does it say eat and recline? 18 sure, that's to give us the amount. The sheikh, when it reclines, could they pras in order to eat part of a loaf. And it's not telling us that specifically only someone who eats or reclines. It means anybody goes into the house. So why does it say eating and reclining? It means that how long it takes you to eat, right? That's right. That's the amount of time that's necessary to become impure. It's a measurement of time. That's the point. Okay. The Yishka Babayis Yichabis is because of Yicha Babayis Yichabis is because of. See, that's what he just translated. I mean, just explained what's from this verse, right?
Yeah.
So, regarding someone who lies down in the house, he must immerse his garments in the mikvah, and someone who eats in the house also has to immerse his garments in a mikvah. Why? It doesn't mean specifically that. It means that time period that it would take time to eat, right, is the amount of time necessary. As if you walked in and walked out,
Yeah,
you wouldn't have to. That's the point. The verse is coming to tell us.
that's if you deliver something.
Yeah, right. 48.
8.
If he comes, he will come to Kayin. Nega, and the lesion did not spread, Babayis in the house, and afterwards he replastered as a bias v'toyra Kayin. It's a bias, and Kayin will make it pure. Yinirpa hanega, because it's been healed, the lesion.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
So the lesion stays there. If it hasn't spread, it still stays there, the lesion.
Yeah.
Okay.
What?
Lesion, if it hasn't spread, it's
healed.
It's okay.
If it hasn't spread, it's healed.
But the lesion is still there. But they just
Cuts it out and it's
No, it doesn't say- it doesn't say they cut it
cuts
out.
it out. And it's healed if it doesn't come back.
no, and the lesion did not spread in the house, and after the house had been replastered, the priest must pronounce house rid of the flower.
There you go.
It hasn't spread, but that means it's still there. Let's put a picture over it. Oh, the lesion has healed, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. I did that one already. Lakach, the chate is a bias.
Let's skip
Yeah.
Rashi.
Lakach, and he takes the chate to cleanse. It's a bias the house, right? In other words, now he's got to bring an offering to become himself pure, right?
Why don't you skip Rashi?
Because I did it already, actually. I did it already previously.
You are skipping Rashi.
Yeah.
Good.
As a bias states, he brings two birds, ace erids, of a cedar stick, Mishnei Soilas, right? We've learned this idea already, right? And two, Mishani Soilas for Ezeb. Mishani Soilas means a strip of scarlet wool, and Ezeb and a hyssop. A hyssop is short, is small, and the cedar is very tall. Now, from the haughtiness to be humble, the two have to come together, tied with the crimson wool, right? That's what we learned earlier. And then you have to slaughter the bird, ha'achas, one of them. It's kli cheres alamayim chayim. And then from the one bird, that the blood that comes from the shechting, the slaughtering, it goes into spring water and an earthenware vessel. Now that there's spring water and earthenware vessel, right?
So the blood's from the first bird.
Yeah, then you take the cedar stick, that's the azav and the hyssop, and shnei telas, and the crimson wool as to tie the two together. There's a tzipor and the bird, a chaya that's alive because the other one was slaughtered. The tavaloi samba dam atzipor, and you immerse them into the blood of that was in an earthenware vessel, right, that we just mentioned, of the bird, ashchuta that was slaughtered, of a mayim chayim, and that there is spring water in there. Vihiza is a elabai is shevapami, and then you sprinkle from the water, the blood in the water, right, that's there, towards the house 7 times. Okay, this is all the purification process, right? The chita is abayis, and the house will become cleansed. Bedam atzipor, with the blood of this bird, b'mayim achayim, and the spring water, atzipor achaya, and the living bird, or be'etz be'erez, ha'erez, and with the cedar wood, the azav and the hyssop of bishani atalas, and the crimson wool. Others, this is its cleansing process, right? Vishiach is a tzipor achaya, and then you have to send away the living bird, el mechutz la'ir, outside of the city, el pnei asada, towards the field, chipra alabai is v'toyer, and it will bring atonement for the house, and it will become pure. Zay seras l'chol nega tzaras. This is the law for every affliction of tzaras. Lanesik for a nesik, right? 35. Tzaras a beged labais, and tzaras for the clothing and for the home. Yeah.
So far.
For the white, the wool white spot, the egg membrane white spot, and the snow white spot, right? We had 4 different kinds of spots, right? Lesions of whiteness. 2, which the kohen has to render decision by day. Tahar. So on the day that he will be pronounced that he's defiled, and the day that he's going to be pronounced that he is pure. So he's tzaras. This is the law of the tzaras. Rashi letters the yom tameh to render a decision on the day that he's defiled. Is a yom mitare, is a yom mitameh. On the day that he pronounced him that he's rid of the defilement, he's pure. On the day they pronounce his ritual defilement. Wow. Okay, we're just going to do, I don't have enough time here. Hashem spoke to Moshe and Aaron saying, Dabra when Israel speak to the children of Israel, Marta, and say to them, Misha Ishki Yazov Sarai, any person, any man, of a discharge, Sarai from his flesh.
Go directly to 3.
Yeah. So when you will have this discharge, sorry, from his flesh, this discharge makes him impure. Okay, sorry, but I have to stop here.
Cool word. Spittle.
Yeah. Sorry.
Nothing to be sorry about. Now we get the pleasure of Tanya.
Yeah.
Thank God. Third chance, the 3rd time, 2nd time.
All right, folks.